A crowd of reporters outside U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. Friday morning. Former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn enters the building before pleading guilty to making false statements to the FBI about his contacts with a Russian diplomat. Flynn is now the fourth person to be charged as part of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's probe into Russian meddling during the 2016 election, and prompting a whole lot of questions about what this means for the Trump administration and, more importantly, this country. And here to talk about these developments with us today is Dr. Norman Provisor, a political science professor from Metropolitan State University, and Dr. David Goldfisher, an international studies professor at the Korbel School of International Studies at the University of Denver. And thank you, gentlemen, for being here. We appreciate both of you
Pleasure.
for being here. Let's just talk about how significant this development is right now. And why would he lie? Dr. Goldfisher?
Well, and the overarching thing that happened, as we all know, is that Russia attacked the United States for the purpose of interfering with our democracy and shaping the outcome of the election for the benefit of Donald Trump. And that Trump has never fully even acknowledged the attack, let alone talked about punishing Russia. Quite the opposite. He's pursued cooperation with Russia. So we've known that since day one. And we've also watched the news as it's unfolded, showing the obstruction of the effort to investigate, where more information about that keeps coming out, but certainly going back to the firing of Comey. And we've seen increasing evidence of the coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia through WikiLeaks, and again, unfolding developments. I think in a better world, or if we had a stronger liberal democracy, I think we've already had enough decisive information to make final judgments about this president. But certainly this arrest or this pleading of guilty is a decisive moment, because that was, going back to January, that was pivotal when Flynn met with Kislyak and clearly indicated that the punishment being inflicted by the United States under Obama for that attack would be reversed when Trump became president. And when you add both his admission of lying to the fact, and I haven't seen the court documents, but apparently they indicate that he is saying that he did this on higher authority. And of course, there was very little higher authority than him. So this is a very big moment.
Yeah, and the reference, it talks about a very senior official, but unnamed. There's no names connected to it, so we have to still draw these connections. But I think one of the things that David just mentioned is that when you see what's happened with former General Flynn, you can understand why President Trump was trying to convince FBI Director Comey not to go here. Can't you give him a break? I mean, it all makes perfect sense, because he really was part of the campaign early on. He was a key kind of early supporter of then candidate Trump's. And with all of that going on, the notion of trying to get him out of the limelight, because he might be tempted to cooperate. That's always the thing. People always talk about what prosecutors do. You kind of go up the line, you get little fish to catch bigger fish, and all of those kind of things. And his son was involved in all of this too. So he has family interest as well as personal interest.
And the fact that he's only being charged with making false statements indicates that more is to come, or that he is cooperating, right? Is that how you two interpret this?
Yeah, and for people who were dispirited about our democracy after the election, watching Mueller and how this investigation has unfolded, the obvious mastery, care, timing, and so I think at this point we can assume that he has a lot more information than we've seen so far. This mentioning of higher officials, which it's Kushner previous, or the president, or the president's son. It's moving now into the White House. And it's unfolding, again, in this very deliberate and steady way. And, for people who were pessimistic, as I was, watching this latest development is a cause for great optimism.
So, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was going to say it's kind of the first significant breach of the White House gate in terms of all of this activity, and exactly how far it goes. We're still waiting to get more information. We don't have everything in as yet. but it kind of moves shows the investigation is moving in a direction, and it's not a direction that just dismisses everything as made up news and there's nothing to all this.
So there are
Obviously,
significant
there is
implications for the president here.
Well, we don't know how directly yet. I think
Right.
we're still awaiting that. But I think it is clear that it's really getting very close. I mean, we're moving into that. And again, with Mueller's investigation, as pointed out, everyone knew he was going to be great in this role, which is why the president should have regretted from day one that he did anything to help promote the idea that there was going to be a special prosecutor, and we have a very strong one, and it's not just an individual; it's a whole team of experienced people involved in this kind of activity. So we're waiting for. It's not really waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's waiting for like the store full of shoes to drop and see what else comes out of all
We
of
have
it.
less than a minute left, so if you can give us your bottom line on this.
Yeah, when you talk about the store full, and of course we're inundated with Manafort, with Trump Jr., it goes on and on. But if you think about this one pivotal event, it was never credible that Trump did not know that his soon-to-be national security advisor was on the phone with the Russians promising to end sanctions imposed by the current administration. So that's already a violation of norms and a kind of violation of the U.S. having continuous national security policy under one president. But he was also asking Flynn or promising the Russians that he would end sanctions following an attack by a hostile foreign power against the United States. It's now going to be, or soon to be, I think, impossible for Trump to be able to deny that he knew that was taking place.
We keep hearing Watergate. Is this the equivalent? Is this on the same level?
They surpass.
I think it's much worse than Watergate. If people talk about Flynn as the John Dean, and John Dean was certainly cooperating, but what Flynn was doing, again, was basically engaging with a hostile foreign power to continue harm being inflicted on our country, is far more dramatic to me than Watergate.
And just very quickly, one of the things that he wasn't charged with that people have talked about is violation of the Logan Act, which goes back to the 1790s, the late 1790s, which makes it illegal to an individual who's not in power, right, a plain individual, to actually, without permission, to get involved in foreign policy. It's an illegal action. So part of that may be some of the negotiation going back and forth over what you're going to be charged with.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much. I wish we had more time to talk about this. Dr. Provisor, Dr. Goldfisher, appreciate your insight, and we'll be right back.